AIS. Thank you.
Thanks, President. Paula McEwan, Educational Institute of Scotland, proud to be moving this composite to end the hostile environment towards workers. Congress, the size and scale of the devastation wreaked on workers, their families and communities over the past decade and a half in particular, mean that there's not a minute to waste in us mounting a comprehensive programme of rebuilding and restoration of workers' rights and their living standards. The TUC is to be congratulated for the work that it did in influencing the Labour Party manifesto towards reinstatement and advancement of the trade union and employment rights that the Tories had sought to sledgehammer. Now, with Labour in Downing Street and a significant majority in Westminster, we must keep up that pressure so that we see an immediate end to the hostile environment towards workers that we felt so acutely since 2010 and even before. Only a few weeks ago, the UK Government hailed a new era of partnership that will bring benefits to everyone across the country striving to build a better life. They have committed through the Employment Rights Bill and the wider Make Work Pay programme to repeal the Strikes Act, the minimum service levels, and the 2016 Trade Union Act, to give trade unions better access to workplaces, to ban the exploitative use of zero-hours contracts, to enable more flexible working, to ensure the right to disconnect, and to bring an end to fire and rehire practices. All very welcome, but we have to see these fine words turn to action, and soon. We must see the swift realisation of Labour's manifesto promises to reverse the anti-worker, anti-trade union rhetoric, policy and legislation that the Tory government spent years crafting in the interests of profit and of greed. We must see the dawn of a new age in which the worth of workers and the contribution that we and our trade unions make to our economy, our society and our democracy is recognised, respected and properly rewarded. A decade and a half of austerity has led to a situation where 20% of the teaching profession in the state education system in Scotland is in precarious work, widespread casualisation of a vital public service. Unpaid overtime is endemic. The average teacher in Scotland works 11 hours a week in excess of their 35-hour contract. Demands upon the service and on the workers that provide it are high and are growing, and funding is too low. That's leading to poor physical and mental health, burnout, and means that we don't retain our teachers or our prospective teachers. High rates of unpaid overtime, driven by low funding, are used to prop up poorly funded public services. In further education, our FE members have struggled for a decade against cuts in defence of pay, conditions and jobs. They've been forced time and again to meet ballot thresholds just to be able to mount and sustain their fight back. The most recent of these disputes was resolved just a couple of weeks ago, a dispute that ran for 2 years and that saw college employers shamefully exploit some of the worst provisions of anti-worker laws by deducting 100% of our members' wages for withholding marks, a process innocuously called deeming. The EIS and EIS FILA had to fight and fight hard to put a stop to that. And we did fight it. Our members bravely maintained their action and we piled on the pressure until the Scottish Government stepped in with necessary additional funding to get a deal over the line, on the condition that employers who had deemed salaries would pay every penny back. A victory, but a fight that we would never have had to fight had the law been fairly on the side of working people. In executing their defund and privatise strategy, the Tories, of course, understood the biggest defenders of workers and workers' rights are us. With the trade unions in their sight, their anti-trade union project, initiated by Thatcher, was scaled up and accelerated by successive Tory administrations, culminating in the 2016 Act and then most recently in the Strike Act, an existential threat to our power as a movement. So much so that we resolved at Special Congress to challenge it by every means possible, and we were right to take that stance. We are pleased to see so many of our affiliates thinking along the same lines, and we support these amendments that are coming forward. Our own members have been subject to fire and rehire, so we welcome that specific focus and support the devolution of employment law and existing TUC Congress policy. Hailing from the land of Rabbie Burns, the EIS knows that the best laid plans of mice and men go gang aft a gley. After 15 years of the hostile environment towards workers, we just can't be left with naught but grief for promised joy from this new government. I urge you to support Composite 1.